Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to day 5 of the 30-day challenge. And we're going to get started right away here. I'm going to pull up my presentation. And as always, we're going to go about 30 minutes in length. And we are going to pick up right where we left off. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so in today's 30-day challenge, what we're going to do is we're going to pick it up right here. And in day 5, we are actually picking up over the last 2 days. And hopefully what you've done is you've already done a little homework. We'll talk about that here in a minute. What we're doing is we're building a foundation in an online business to reach 1,000 fans or buyers that will pay us ultimately $100 a year minimum. That's really our goal. And as you have been following, this is based on an article by Kevin Kelly. I'm going to suggest that you read it. It's at kk.org. It's a short read, and definitely go ahead and take a look at it. I think that you will find it to be very encouraging if you are an internet marketer, if you have been creating things, you've been kind of wondering, how am I going to do this? How's this ever going to become something that's ever going to be a sustainable income? This context will really help you to get your arms around what you're trying to accomplish. And that's what we're going to be doing over these 30 days. This will even be in more lockstep with what we call the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your customers will give you 80% of your revenue. And you're going to see that over the course of the series. We're going to be using and leveraging resale rights and PLR content to help us to attain this. That's part of what we are going to be doing. And then we're also going to be putting assets in place that will be beyond list building. And that's really kind of the goal of what we will be doing. We want to, of course, we want to build our list. I mean, the money is in the list. There is a way to think about that, though, so that you are really building a list that's going to sustain you. And what you don't want to do over time is you want to build, and you want to do a launch so that it builds a kind of list that will sustain you, right? And when the challenge is done, we're going to have the right infrastructure in place together in our online business. Now, you should have designed already over the last 2 days, based on the last few days of the challenge. You should have already designed your signature opt-in piece, right? It should be solving a major problem in the niche. And tonight, we'll talk about getting clear on what your potential customers might actually want. Now, I want to talk about something before we get started here tonight, and I think it's pretty important. This strategy doesn't change a couple of things, right? Here's what we're talking about. 1,000 true fans doesn't change the fact that you need to create products. In fact, it increases the need to increase products, as you're going to see more and more, or at the very least to create something for people to buy from you, right? As an information marketer, as a creative person, you are going to discover here that you are going to want to have products that are going to make sense to the people that you're going to be helping. And this doesn't change the need for you to generate leads. As a matter of fact, you need to generate more leads, because what you have to do is, you and I, we've got to be working through these leads to try to determine those people that are really going to work with us, right? And then we are going to, it doesn't change the need for us to network with JVs and affiliates. That's how we're going to get in front of a lot of people. That's how we're going to find out who our partners are. That's how we're going to find out who resonates with the people that we are going to be doing business with, as you know, over time. And then what the 1,000 True Fans does is it gives context to your business, right? Context. And for example, you know, would you say your goal is going to be to do product launches for cash? So in other words, you're trying to launch as many products as you can. You're trying to build your list as big as you can, because obviously that's going to make you more money. Is that the goal? Is your goal, right, is to do product launches so you can find true customers, right? And of course, for some of us, if you've been listening, that's part of the goal of what we're talking about. Are we trying to do product launches for cash and long-term customers? And that is ultimately what we're looking to do. We want to generate enough income so that we can invest back into the business to ultimately find the customers that are going to be willing to spend $100 a year with us, regardless of what it is, right? We want people who are rabid about what it is what we have to offer. And so even as we generate income, we're trying to invest that income back into the business so we can find the long-term customers. That's really why we really want to have this framework in place as we start to really build. So if you have already built your signature piece, you've already built the piece that people are going to be opting in for, whether it's audio, visual, or video or text or whatever it is, it's now time for you and I to start asking some questions. We need real information. We need to find out now from the people who are going to opt in. We need to find out from the people who show some interest. We have to get real information on what it is they want. And we're really not talking about a long-term process. So I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff to do. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to start doing some intensive study of the customer base. Your goal should be to get some real information about the market now. So you're getting people to opt in. You're in place with your vibe, and now what you've got to do, and I've got to do, is we've got to start getting real information. We've got to start figuring out what is it that people really will want to buy, and we're also going to be doing lots of visual images with lots of analogies. So here's what I mean by that, and it almost seems kind of random when you say there. When we start talking to our true fans, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing things like building members areas. We're going to be doing things like building opt-in pages. All of those things are going to have stories in them. All of those things are going to have images in them. All of those things are going to have things that symbolize something. And so you really do want to get information on who you're dealing with, because if your customer base is older, I mean, they're in their 60s and 70s, what you don't want to do is to get a bunch of guys who are 19, 20, 21, all with six packs, right? That's not the idea. It's not going to resonate with them. And so what you want to do is to start thinking about, well, who am I talking to in the market? We need to try to figure that out. We need to try to figure out who we're talking to. We need to know what their interest is in the niche. If for example, somebody who's interested in the weight loss niche, or even let's say they go further, they're interested in low carb. Some people are there to try to lose a few pounds. Some people are there to try to lose 100 pounds. Some people are there because they want to lose weight because they're getting ready to go back to their college reunion. Some people want to lose it because and those are all different people, right? And those are all different potential markets, and those are all different ways that we can get people who all would need the same product, but to approach them differently. Okay, so for example, let's take this example into internet marketing for a second. Are you male or female? We need to ask people that. And the fact of the matter is, it makes a difference for us to know that. It makes a difference in terms of how we market. Are you full-time or part-time in internet marketing? That's going to make a difference in terms of how we market to people. And again, I'm just giving you the internet marketing niche for example. Right? Are you full-time or part-time internet marketing? That's gonna affect how we market to you. That's gonna affect the stuff we say to you. We might sell the same product to somebody who's working full-time, but who's working in internet marketing full-time versus part-time. Right? We want to find out your approximate age. We want to know that. That matters in terms of, again, what kind of images we use, what kind of stories we tell. Right? If you start talking to me about the Beach Boys, you've lost me. And not because the Beach Boys aren't cool, it's just because it was before my time. And so if you know that there are a bunch of me's out there, you have to be talking to me in analogies that make sense to me, because that will keep me reading. That will keep me paying attention to you. So what we have to do is we've got to try to attract start trying to attract our potential audience into surveys, right? We've got to be attracting them using paid traffic from Facebook. And again, there are volumes. We'll probably spend a day on this of the 30-day challenge, but we have to be looking to Facebook to try to figure out, of the people who are in that demographic that we are starting to figure out, we need to be attracting them into our marketing funnel. We need to be attracting them to our signature opt-in piece. right? Remember, we have already created something that's so awesome that people are going to want it. So we're not just looking at the free report with that opt-in report. We're really talking about something that should blow people away. We can attract people into surveys using YouTube paid, right? We can attract them using YouTube or videos. I'm talking about when you just go out and put videos out there, not because you're doing ads, but because you're trying to inform people, right? We're going to be attracting people from online forums. So we're going to be on online forums. We're going to be posting in those relevant areas. We're going to be sharing information. We're going to make people interested in us and attract them back to our surveys. We're going to be attracting them from Facebook groups. Now, again, please do not go inside of Facebook groups and then start spamming them and then say, Charles said this, and I don't think that any of you all will, but the fact of the matter is you want to be inside those groups giving value so that people start asking you, or you get the opportunity to share. You want to start attracting people from using joint ventures. This is really important. People who are not competing with you, but yet they're in the same niche you are, you and I have to start working with them. We have to start working with them so that they will be willing to either put us before their list or before their audience, right? So we've got to always be looking for ways to joint venture with people in order to get the right kind of people to create synergies. This guy or this lady is going to let us put our product on their download page. Why? So that we can get them to opt in and then show them a survey, right? We want to find out what they're really interested in. And every survey, we're going to customize it so that people actually know that we're trying to ask them questions about based on their interest. We want to attract them through PLR product creation launches. What does that mean? That means then that some people are going to come to you because of the product you launched. Now, we didn't go through that in this particular series. And again, I'm going to suggest you join our coaching program for that. But when we start talking to people through product launches, right? Product launches, what's going to happen is we're going to be generating leads, whether it's 10, 20, 15, we should be generating leads every single day. And we're going to attract them through PLR product creation. And what's going to happen is, the more that we launch, the more that we're going to find new customers. But those customers are going to be just as important for us for data as it will be for sales. Right. And the fact of the matter is that when you start talking about doing a survey, and this is just parenthetical, I want to say this to you, is that statistics say that you're going to do better if you don't offer an incentive. So if you're thinking about, well, what should I offer people at the end of the survey? You probably shouldn't offer anything if you want a true response. Right. And I think I read that in the Ask book by Ryan Levesque. So let's talk a little bit about going deeper. Now, you're doing this because you want a little time to do a little research. And this should not take days or weeks or months, right? The research. You trying to figure out what's going on in the market. This should probably take you about a half a day at most. The idea is to set up your system to collect information and leads every day. Information. So you want to use your autoresponders to drive traffic to the survey. Somebody becomes your subscriber, send them to the survey. Somebody becomes your customer, send them to the survey, because you are trying to get real information. Again, not everybody's going to answer, but you need real information from people so that you can start to design the things they really need. So have them go to the survey after they opt in. Sometimes have them go to the survey before they opt in. You send someone to a survey before they opt in. What you're doing is you're building trust. You're building trust with them, right? Now, these things will be going on in the background while you do product launches as well as customer and prospect engagement, right? These things are going to be going on in the background. And so these are pretty important for you to be able to really think through. So what do I mean by that? You're not going to stop your activity in your online business for this. What we're doing is we're creating a system in the background that runs on autopilot that's going to provide information for us. That's really what we're setting up. And we're going to use that. We're going to use that information in order to start designing things, right? So we want to start using tracking systems that are easy and inexpensive, right? So first of all, get at minimum, get the super easy to use tracking systems. Facebook has a fantastic tracking system for their fan pages. right? And to get engagement, they've got all kinds of information in their system. That we should be taking advantage of that. And that also means that we should be driving some traffic to those places. YouTube has just, to me, probably the most, I think the most easy to understand yet sophisticated tracking system there is, right? If you start doing videos, what's going to happen is you do them repeatedly. Certain people are going to come back and back and back to your videos, and that's going to start being an indication of who you're resonating with. And I love YouTube because of that, right? There are a lot of things about YouTube that kind of get on your nerve, but that's a great one. And of course, you're going to be using stuff like Google Analytics. But I think personally, if you can just start setting up YouTube, doing videos and sending people there, you're going to start getting information about who you're resonating with really fast. Right now. So once you start getting this data, you're getting this data, you start getting this information, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Well, what you should be doing with this data is testing new ideas for new products, right? Somebody tells you they're having a problem. Somebody tells you, this is what I'm really struggling with. Somebody tells you, this is what I'm really trying to do. This should be your idea for your new products. And information products are really just your attempt to meet the market and help them solve problems and to help them to accomplish goals. So what you're doing is, as you get more data, you're testing more ideas for new products. The data will help you to figure out what you should be doing in your webinars. Right? You should be not be doing webinars for the sake that you think, you and I think we might know what people want. We have to do webinars if we're going to have people attend them. We want to have webinars that from data. We want people to tell us what they want. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to do it verbatim, but it does mean that you are going to have an accurate sense of what it is they want. The data is going to help you to figure out what expert you should be talking to. Where you don't have the expertise, bring in an expert, but you want to do that based on what the data is telling you. What's the expression is in God we trust, all others must bring data. I think that W. Edwards Deming said that, and it's true, right? Ultimately, we need data to make good decisions. The data is going to help you to figure out the trends in the marketplace you're operating in. So in other words, when you start getting more than one response about the same thing, you're going to start to take note and start to try to figure out, what does this mean? Does this mean the market is going in a different direction? The data will ultimately help you figure out what you may want to design as part of your funnel. This is really kind of important. So I want to take a little time to explain this. Now, a funnel could be what the customer buys at the point of sale. You and I know that, right? You're used to that. You go, you buy something, you pay something on the front end, you might pay something in the OTO, and that's fine. That is a funnel, right? The way we talk about internet marketing. Well, here's what a funnel is also. A funnel is also what the customer buys over their lifetime with you. See, when we start talking about true fans, right? We start talking about true fans. We don't just want people who buy from us as a result of the launch. We want people who to buy from us as a result of what we have, right? And sometimes what that means is, and here's the question, right? Here's the essential question. You know, do you and I have enough products and services planned and designed right now for somebody to spend $100 a year with us, right? That's a question. It's a legitimate question. If you want to have customers to spend that amount with you, at minimum, we have to have that, right? And we don't have that. I mean, it's not as if we're bad people or anything, but it does mean that we might not even be able to execute, right, 1,000 fans, because we really do need to have a number of products that are already available to us. We also need to have all of this kind of happening in the background, because we need to be doing business. We do need to be doing our own product launches and networking and all those things. We're just working this in a different way. The question is, do you have tools right now to survey your buyers and prospects? Do you have anything to track their activity? You know, again, Google Analytics is fantastic. It's free. That's what I use, right? You should be tracking, surveying your buyers and prospects too. So now, before we kick out of here, before we end this session, I got you out of here well under 30 minutes. I want to make sure that for those of you who are picking up the software the survey software, you can do that. And I'm actually going to be adding Monetization Revolution. It is it's a never been released course. To those of you who decide you're going to go ahead and pick up the reseller or even some of the upsells, it's a great piece of software. So again, superfastactionbonus.com/new resell software. Of course, if you're new to me and you want to pick up the other calls and you want to make sure you get notification, head on over to the PLRshow.com and then make sure that you put your name and email address in there. All of my training is at youtube.com/gain mindshare. So make sure you pick that up. And of course, we're going to be talking about PLR this week and how you're going to be able to use it in terms of your leverage. So make sure that if you don't have the PLR playbook, which is going to teach you how to be effective using PLR, make sure you head on over there for that. Finally, on Thursday nights, what we do is coaching, right? We do some coaching. And I wouldn't even call it coaching. We try to get into what folks are doing and to really help them to move things down the field a little faster, right? So that's really the idea. We want people in the program to have the resources they need. So we give them one product a month, and then we want folks to then be able to take what they've got and then use it. Okay, so with that, that is we are at 20 minutes and cooking with gas. Okay, so with that, everybody, thank you very much. I don't see any questions. So once again, I appreciate you all being here on Sunday, and have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow now, and take care.